Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Stephen Reep's Adventure of Truth podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Reep, and today we're going to look at one of the oldest questions in philosophy. Are we governed by the stars? Are we subject to fate? Are we predestined? Or is our will free, and do we control our own destiny? So, let's explore that question and let's take an adventure. Alright, so in my last video I discussed if God's all good and all powerful, why does he let bad things happen to good people? Well, one of the answers I said to that is because we have free will and we can choose to do bad things to each other. Now I had a few people ask, how do we know we have free will? What is free will? So today we'll discuss that. Traditionally, there's a lot of different ways to look at free will. There's two point of views that have to do with determinism, that life is determined. There's the really religious point of view that we are controlled by the gods, and you might see this in the Iliad. The ancient Greeks thought that we were the gods' playthings, we were marionettes, and for example, Achilles, you can see in the battle, he has different gods whisper different things, and it makes him act certain ways on the battlefield. Now, scientists on the other side and just pure materialists say we don't have a will that's a spirit or something extra material. We have, everything's just material, so it's all chemical reactions, it's all instincts, it's all stuff in us, and we might have this illusion that we are choosing things, but it's all just chemicals. Now on the other side of that is that we do have free will, that we make the decisions. And society is based on this idea, because this is part of the natural law. This is part of just what we naturally know. We naturally feel this. Someone lies to you, you held them accountable, right? Our law, our society is based upon this, in that we hold people guilty or not guilty, right? From a crime. Did you do it or did you not do it? And even to what extent and why did you do it, right? So, for example, murder, right? There's different degrees of murder. Killing someone premeditated is way different than in a fit of rage or even by accident. So there's different ideas, and it all depends on your conscious decision-making process. And the classical Christian answer is more of free will, but it's a little bit of both and, because it does recognize the fate aspect, the determinist aspect. And it does recognize that we are controlled by gods or instincts. A good example of this is a cheeseburger. So I am planning on going a diet with the new year. And if you put a cheeseburger in front of me, yes, I'm going to want it. My mouth is going to salivate. I'm going to, I'm going to smell it, and all my instincts are going to be telling me, ooh, yummy, fats, proteins, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. And I'm going to really, really want to eat it. And odds are I might give in, but I'm going to really, really strive to have a will over my instincts to choose not to do it. Now, my dog, Louie, beautiful husky, he's going to eat that burger. He has no will to override his instincts. He's going to gobble that cheeseburger. He doesn't care that his pants are getting tight, right? So that really, I think, is the proof that we have free will, is that we can strive against our instincts and against those callings of whether they're the gods of old or if they're our instincts, our brain, right? We can go against our brain and our natural desires to decide to free our will. Now that's the way the ancient Christianity looked at it. St. Paul always talked about Christ freed him from the bondage of his body, right? That we become freer as we get closer to Christ, as we get closer to the source, the most free will, as we become more spiritual, as our will is our spirit, right? That's who we are. We're not our brain, we're not our body, we are our will, our decision-making process. And as we get closer and more connected to God, more fully alive, we become more conscious, and we have more of a free will. So getting closer to Christ is actually freeing our will, right? The further you get from it, the more you're not free. The further you go into addiction or have less self-control, the less of a free will you have, right? Anyone under addiction. You have an addiction. I have an addiction, right? It might not be a drug addiction or anything like that, but you know what? Try to get rid of this. You might think you can get rid of this for maybe a week or a month, but you try, you'll start twitching real fast, right? So building your will and being stronger than those things is how we become more masters of ourselves. So again, a lot of these answers are in the Garden of Eden, in the story of Genesis. So one of my favorite psychologists, Dr. Jordan Peterson, in an interview with Russell Brand, actually said a really good quote that sums up a lot of the morality and ethics in Christianity, and a lot of the meta-narrative in Christianity. He says, "A little bit of consciousness ruins the paradise of Adam and Eve in Eden, and the cure to that is becoming 100% conscious, and that is where true paradise is." That quote is really deep, because that is the story, that we were puppets, that God could have made us as puppets and made us perfect, and the animal world, maybe before we evolved into conscious beings, we were kind of puppets, and God could have forced us to be good, but he said, no, I'm going to allow them to take on consciousness, to bite that apple, and they become self-aware, right? That's why they realize they're naked, and then they put on awesome Hawaiian shirts like this. And they become self-aware, and it ruins everything, right? Because immediately they realize that, oh no, I'm evil, that means other people are evil, that means, all this chaos, all this further and further from God, right? But all this freedom. But eventually the Bible comes back, and we come back to God, and God reaches out to us. That's why he sends Christ. And he reaches out, and he says, he connects us back with the source, and he says, if you connect yourself to me, you can start to have something much higher than forced love, and that's choosing love, and that's choosing goodness, right? So that's where 100% consciousness and becoming 100% conscious, 100% free, 100% in control of yourself, that's where heaven is, and that's how you get to heaven. And how do you do that? Well, you connect yourself to the source. You connect yourself to Christ, right? We're free. We're free agents. We can be good or bad, but we can't be good on our own power. Just like an egg can't be warm on its own power. It needs to be connected to the warmth of the mother hen to hatch. A light bulb has all the potential in the world to give out light only when it's connected to the source, connected to the power source, connected to the electricity, and then it can make light. In the same way, we need to be connected to the source. And the more we're connected to the source, the more free our will becomes. And that is how you become a true hero and a true conqueror. And I'm Stephen Reep, reminding you to be the hero of your own adventure. I'll see you next time, guys.